Yes.
Slide down. Give you some room there with all your guys.
And there was some fuzziness last meeting, so if everyone, two suggestions. Let's raise our hands or something. All talking at once gets it.
Yeah, messes
that up. And then if you are speaking, if you would speak up, because I don't know what it is, but it's tough for me to hear.
All right.
Other than that, why don't you call it, Bob?
I call the meeting into order.
And who's here?
2/21 on February the 22nd, and Hugh Taylor and Steve Fultz, Paige Colleen, and Bob Danzy.
Okay.
Myself. Our present, no visitors. And I guess the first thing of order is on minutes that we've had in the past.
I'd like to get the minutes approved.
That's
Go ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. You carry on.
We approved the minutes from the first either meeting or two. I would like to approve the minutes of 2/1. The minutes in your hand are from 2/8. And I'm sorry. Did you get?
Oh, his hand. Okay. I think
No.
That's majoritively.
Here, I have. Yeah, it is. Here you go.
Thank you.
The minutes in your hand are for 2/8, which I'm not going to ask to be approved until the next time we meet. But I would like, I think the approval of the 2/1 minutes will catch us up. And that's, I think, where I spelled your name wrong, Bob. I spelled it right this time.
I don't know. Yeah, it is right on the current one.
Or additions to corrections to it. I don't have no objections to. I don't have no objections if you have objections. If you have too many objections, you get to do it next time.
That's kind of the way I see it too.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this 2/1? No, this is 2/8.
2/8.
2/1.
That's 2/8 also.
Okay.
That's 2/1.
I need 2/1.
Well, everybody got 2/1.
I think I know what mine was sitting in my car.
Oh, before? Oh, I might have before, yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's one before.
Oh, no, I got 12/13. Did I get them on the Google group? I don't know if I received them electronically. I guess they should be approved first before I put them up online.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll root through and see if I have them.
All right.
I know I got them. But. One.
2/1. You have 2/1?
I think I already wrote this one.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to apologize.
Did you need another one, Paige?
I just,
No, I think I have that one.
Okay. everyone knows right above that minutes that these recordings are online at YouTube.
I assume they do. I go there.
Okay. I think Steve knows.
You can go to the Google Docs too, and there's the one document that has all the links for the different audios, and you just click on those and take you right to
take you right
YouTube,
to it.
or you can search the YouTube.
I didn't know how easy that would be, but
I searched it. I'll be honest, when I search it, I don't find them all, but I know that they're on that Google Doc.
Yeah, you go to Google
But I
Docs.
guess for some reason, they're not just clumped right together. I would have thought they would have been on the search.
Yeah.
to the right of the last one.
Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Comes down on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Tim, we
There's
took
a
your
couple of
chair.
these, so you could click on
There's
one
a
of
couple of
those,
them there.
and then there may be more on that right column. I don't know.
And I didn't look very far down through there. When I looked, I kind of assumed that they would, because of the title, the way they were titled, they'd just be together, but
All right.
I'm pretty sure they're there.
And they are through 2:10 now, so
Okay.
I have a change to the 2-1 minutes. Mr. Cost, his name is spelled C-O-S-T-E rather than a K-O-S-T. Just then there's no big deal. But
somebody else said it was Costa.
it's C-O-S-T-E. Yeah.
All right.
Costa. I don't know how you pronounce it. Costa.
All right, James. Okay.
Pat Gleason, right, and there's another spot there too, and all the spots where it's Mr. Cost, I've got a couple of them.
Let's have that quick.
I think I'm good with it.
Wow. They must be breaking up over there. That's what we do.
Social hour.
I'm good.
Hmm?
I'm good.
I'm
All
good.
right, so
I'll make a motion to
I'll
approve the
second it.
minutes from 2/1/12 of the Public Records Committee.
Call for the vote.
Second. You need a second.
She
I'll
seconded.
second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Passes 4-0. Did you have something else? Were you
I
gonna
have
come in
one
again?
quick thing. If it rains, too bad. I'm going to have to leave.
That's fair.
You'll still have a quorum for whatever reason, and I'm going to leave my recorder, and I'll hook up with Steve sometime over the weekend or something.
Not a problem. I understand.
Okay. That's all. Just the rain and everything.
I had a conversation with the IT people, Inspired Technology, with a person there, and they tell me that there is. I mentioned what you said, something about a Barracuda, and I'm limited on my knowledge of. I know how to use a computer, obviously. I mean, the basics, but I don't. I know a lot about other stuff. That's not my thing. But I did remember that word. And he said, yeah, that there is such a device, and that may be able, we'd have to buy it. If the one that he's talking about would work, it's about $6,000.
Called the Barracuda.
Yeah. It would, I explained to him our problem is emails that are duplicate, and I think he understood what I meant. I even talked to him about being here today, and then I was going to get up with y'all and make sure that I was okay, but they had appointments, and I found out we got to go through the county to get an appointment with them.
No kidding.
That's what he told me. What's the
Probably makes sense.
girl's name?
Probably makes sense because they're under contract with the county.
Yeah.
No retainer. Yeah, they
I
get a monthly.
believe that was his reasoning for that. This girl's name, I was going to remember, and I know it, I hear it all the time. She worked, what's some
Jessica what?
It ain't Jessica.
Colleen Skipper?
No, it ain't Colleen.
Debbie
Where
DeBose?
here?
It's Debbie. That's who we got to go through.
You're right there.
Yeah.
Where she's going.
Yeah. So we're supposed to get up with her
Okay.
and request, that's so he said.
Were you late? No, Rachel was late.
Rachel, right,
Because
yeah.
didn't we talk about a round robin getting cost if we could
Everybody together.
and get everybody together rather than going individually?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
And I'm up to arranging something, but that may be, see, we have to arrange it 10 days in advance. Would everybody here be up for, if, say, say we can only get everybody together, you know.
I think we have to work around their schedule and be here when they can be here. Is that what you're saying? I mean, I know that
it
may...
doesn't, my schedule is fairly flexible.
Well, I think if we're going to take the effort and make the effort to get all of them here, we should all be here.
We need to make it pretty high on the priority.
Yes.
I hear what they
So I
say.
We
guess
should work
what
our
we're
way
gonna
around the
have
gaps.
to do,
If it's okay with you guys,
work with Rachel.
I could try to do it. I mean, what we have to do, to my mind, we have to see. We have to decide on a meeting or it's scheduled a meeting.
We got to take a shot at it.
Yeah, and when whoever's here or not. I'm sorry, Steve.
No, I raised my hand. I just want to get in line, that's all. I just want to be sure I get in line here. I think procedurally, the original resolution was very clear, that the meetings are to be set by our chairman.
That's right.
And I think we should adhere to that. I think us trying to make arrangements, I don't think you saw my email. I think, Bob, you may have seen my email, but I have it. And I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I think she might have taken offense to it. I felt as if we're kind of, with 4 people, it's difficult because we seem to be at stalemate sometimes. When Rachel's here, and I have a great deal of respect for her, when she's here, she'll pick a direction, and that's the way we'll go. And it was frustrating for me the last couple of meetings without her that we weren't making progress and kind of spinning. I felt like I was kind of wasting my time, to be quite honest. That's not just being disrespectful. That's just the way committees work. It's just the nature of the beast.
Couldn't agree more with you.
And so when I found out she wasn't going to be here today, in her email yesterday morning, I just respectfully suggested we cancel this meeting and work around her schedule. Because without her here, I just think we're just not making progress the way I think we should. So, and I think she might have taken offense to that, but since the original resolution clearly says it's the chairman's responsibility to let the administrator know and schedule the meeting so that it can be noticed, I think we should follow that resolution. Because us trying to make meetings, and it's just we're crossing all of these paths, and I think that the chairman's the chairman, and that's the chairperson is the chairperson, and that's what.
How did she respond to you?
I'll let you read the email chain.
Let me say,
Start from the bottom. It was
my thought is
she's mentioned that, and I didn't realize
it's
that.
her responsibility to do the emails, to do. That's what she scheduled meetings. But the next one she wanted was March the 5th, and that's fine, but it's still, we have to decide as a committee also, how often, when, etc. I looked at Paige last meeting, remember? And said, when we scheduled this one, Rachel was okay with it, right?
I understand, but again, the purpose of the chair is to set meetings based on the workload and the progress being made and the deadlines given. That's the purpose of the chair. And for us to be, because I sensed she wanted to have fewer meetings, but let's get our extension. I was concerned that she didn't know the status of the extension. You know, as things went on, I'm thinking to myself, you know, but if the chair should be the chair, and function as the chair. We don't mind supporting it. Up to this point, I think we've kind of been scheduling meetings.
Right. I agree with you.
But we're getting diluted, and I feel that we're not making progress the way I'd hoped we would, and so consequently, I think we should do what the resolution says. And by the way, in that, I'd like to also read that. I think you read it too. What was interesting, the agenda item last night was pretty specific about what we should do. We should do that. We need line items where we're going to save money. I mean, that's that. And scheduling workshops, to be quite candid, the first I heard about a workshop was in that email. At the last meeting during the recap, I didn't read any minutes, but I was kind of taken back that there was even discussion of a workshop, because I wasn't at that meeting. That's my bad. I wasn't there. But when we recapped, that wasn't discussed. And then when Rachel said there's a workshop, and now I'm thinking to myself, well, we've only got till May now. We've already got one extension, and we're in May. How on earth are we going to get the board to approve a workshop, conduct a workshop, still do our work, and get this done by May 7th? I just don't think it's feasible at this point, unless we get another extension.
Until I got to thinking about it, that I checked our charge. You know, the thing we got from the board, and there's not a word one about workshops and this and that. I didn't
prefer.
It just sat in my brain, I guess, until I thought, wait a minute, let's look at this thing and see.
I do recall that we did speak about a workshop.
Yes, we did, but I didn't put the workshop in the charge that we have as a committee to get. And when I went back and checked, there's nothing on it. We're supposed to do have it, hand it. You know, we're supposed to give the board a document to work on, not whatever she was saying, 2 or 3 proposals, I believe.
Well, I think she was asking, and that's something I want to try to clarify, is that according to this email, my understanding is she would like each of us to bring a proposal for the May 5th meeting, or for the March 5th meeting. Is that what you read into it?
That's what I.
Is that how you read it? Because it says, let me just be see, to facilitate, it says, an additional recommendation made in Steve's absence, I believe, was to develop 2 to 3 proposals to take to a BOCC workshop. See, that caught me off, because I wasn't aware of that. That's my bad, because I didn't make the meeting.
That's okay. That was but we didn't. The statement. We didn't vote on it.
Didn't vote on it? I assure you that I would have voted no.
Okay.
I let it go because it just said, it ain't worth the.
Then it says, to facilitate the achievement of this goal, our next scheduled meeting should be the deadline for submitting a proposal. So I'm just inferring she's expecting all of us to provide a proposal on March 5th.
Can I make a suggestion? And I don't know if this is according to Hoyle. I'm not much on Robert's rules or anything. What I would, can we pursue this course, the 4 of us? Say, if you guys, let's vote. All right, we'll vote to meet March 5th. All right, and then we'll try to come up with specific proposals. Number 2, with the idea that we're not going to do a workshop, and then have like 1, 2, 3 motions, and I'm just tossing this out with those ideas, or 1 big motion, because I don't want to just email her and say this is what. So what I'm thinking is, I could do, if we could get through that little step that Steve wants to do, I can say, here's the minutes, the partial minutes for today's meeting. Get them to Google Docs, or send them to Steve and he can put them on Google Docs. Then Rachel will have what we decide. She'll have them according to the sunshine law, because everybody else in the county will have. And she'll know our thinking. Number one, we will meet March the 5th. Number two, we will or will not do these things. Number three, we will or will not participate in a workshop. So we can communicate our feelings to her. We can communicate what we as a committee have decided, because there's 4 of us and we can decide.
We can decide. Yeah, absolutely.
And if that's okay with everybody, then I'll just take those as minutes right now. Say, here's some partial minutes.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have to agree on the fact that she needs to catch up on the information that she has missed. She needs to know that, we're all coming from different places, so we're all coming at different angles from this, how we feel, and, my recommendation is not going to be the same as Hugh's or as Steve's or as Bob's, and she needs to know what they are. However, there may be some that are alike, or we find out we've got a more commonality than we thought. And so I think it's a very good idea that we structure it that way.
But we have to get that word to her.
She has to read that. She has to be catch up reading and
with that
know.
email exchange this morning, I wonder, and from her suggestion about let's workshop it, my wonderings were, and I would say if she was here, did she even read the charge from the board to the committee?
Knowing Rachel and knowing how she is with things, she's on top of things. I feel sure she knows, absolutely. I would be most surprised if she did not.
See, I accommodated her on scheduling one meeting. And then, again, I was unsure, so I just did it.
We did set up Wednesdays because that was her best day, right?
And we set up, well, the last time we had a meeting, we agreed on Wednesdays because that was her best
Maybe
day.
she needs to give us her schedule, and with her schedule, I mean...
But then maybe Tuesdays are free, you're here
I'm
to
here...
accommodate Rachel.
Well, that's true, but and Tuesdays are usually crazy days.
I know.
To me.
Okay, and I agree with everything we've said. I just want to reiterate the fact that it's far more important, I feel, for the chair to be here, for consistency, to know when to set meetings, so we should be working around her schedule. And no disrespect to anybody here, but it's far more important that we have a chair here that is consistent throughout, that can keep the pace and keep the things going. And if you don't show up, if I don't show up, if you don't show up, any one of us doesn't show up, it's no big deal. But the kingpin, if you will, the linchpin is the chair. And so, and I know she's busy, and I understand that. I think the world of her. When she's in the meeting, I'm just very pleased, and I'm just disappointed that we don't have more of her. That's my concern is we don't have enough Rachel, not any other. And I understand she's busy, and I know she's got other, and this is way down on her list of priorities, I'm sure, because she's very, very busy. She's talented, and she's being pulled in many different directions, and I recognize that. But somehow, I think it is, if we follow, I think it solves itself. We follow the resolution. She sets the meetings. Those of us that can make it, we make it. Those of us that we can't, we can't. Because her schedule is probably tighter than any of ours. I don't know about yours. I know she's tighter than mine. I can leave the shop anytime. You're pretty free. You're pretty free.
Sometimes mine's a little crazy. It's because I've got so many other irons in the fire and two parents that are not in great shape.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Would you like to try to put that in a motion, and then I'll say, here's partial minutes. Moved and seconded and voted that Rachel's the chair. Rachel sets the meetings. We will meet on March 5th. And then she can get that. She can't have a meeting by email, which is what she attempted to do with her. Is March 5th okay?
Yeah.
But see,
I think we should accommodate the March 5th. I think you should make the motion that you made to... I would like for all of us to, I'll second that motion. You need to restate the motion, but I know that the motion was effectively, what I understand is, we set a meeting for the 5th of March.
Which is what day? A Thursday?
I have no idea.
It's a Monday because it's the same day as the next commission meeting.
Monday.
Happened to.
Yeah, she wanted to meet before the commission meeting, so
What
it's a
time?
Monday.
What'd she say?
I think early afternoon, she said,
2?
sometime before the meeting.
All right,
you know.
2 helps me because the mornings,
Yeah,
I
that's
can
good, then
do
we
my
can go over to the
business.
board meeting from here and not make 2 trips to Crawfordville.
that makes,
And bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
And I believe you wanted each one of us to bring a proposal to that meeting, and then we can meld those, mix those, discuss those, so at least it's on paper. And you wanted to publish partial minutes of this meeting as soon as possible, so that Rachel can get up to speed on what we've done, and we don't have to do it through email. Is that pretty much in a nutshell what you were talking about?
And
And
I
publish
don't,
partial minutes.
before we vote on it, I want to say something.
Oh, sure.
I do too.
No, we gotta have a motion to vote.
I,
And partial minutes of, what's today? 2, 3?
22.
22.
All right, here's what I got so far. Next meeting to be March 5th, Monday, 2 p.m. Bring a proposal and publish partial minutes of today's meeting.
And I'd like to add something to that.
All right.
That if she has any suggestions that she feels are important for us to know before the meeting, that she send them to us.
That's
Don't know if that can be done.
That's kind of close.
That's skirting the sunshine. If
Because
it
what
was
she's
one
saying is
direction,
what I'm in favor of,
Yeah.
and you can't do that. You're making policy. She's letting us know policy suggestions in advance.
And it's not in a
Yeah.
organized
But if
call
it's in
meeting.
but if it's within the Google Docs, anybody can look at it.
if it's a one-way communication, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I
If-
guess
as
we'd
long
have
as
to
you don't,
commit
as
not
long
to
as you don't
respond.
debate it. If she were to say, this got a little sketchy, that's why I just quoted, at the end, I just quoted what happened last night, and that's it. You can state,
Okay.
that two-way dialogue that we started to enter into. When you start putting question marks
Let
after
me just
things,
withdraw
Right.
that
No,
because
go
I
ahead.
don't. I really don't want to cause us to
Well-
the people who are doing this to meander off the road, so
And
to
that,
speak.
but everyone, all right, everyone to bring, right?
Mhm.
To,
And I'm happy to, if we want to do that. But after talking to Inspired, I have a feeling if what he said will work, we might should hear him before we bring our proposal. Because I have, if I understood it correctly, there's going to be a lot of common ground for me and you all. Because if you take that duplicates out, then all of a sudden it speeds it up for a request up tremendously, and it saves money, even though it costs money up front. It saves time, hours.
Well, time is money.
Time is money, and there may be a thing to where we go, and it's up to y'all. But I was happy to hear what he had to say, and the other thing, the reason I was even more for our extension is we can get a 30-day trial period with this thing to run alongside of the system we have now. And it also will cut Inspired Technologies out of being the person that gets the emails in order. That'll be the county guy.
well, I do not disagree with anything you've said. I feel as if it's going to be extremely difficult to justify any expenditure, even if we can show a great ROI. Even if we can show a great ROI, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just cautioning all of us that when our charge, we got to keep our eye on the ball on what they want us to do, and that agenda item is pretty specific. And if we say, well, it's going to cost you $6,000 now, but 4 years down the road we're going to recoup this, I'm not saying it couldn't be sold. I'm just saying it's going to be a tough sell to spend any money.
if it's a possibility, or
We should pursue it. I'm
The
not
system
saying
that we have,
if it's a possibility, why not? I mean,
I think we have
they're
to
going to
do
make the final
Steve,
decisions
would you
anyway.
read what the agenda item was last time, what it was?
What it says is, and this is in the agenda item, it says, the Public Records Committee is expected to generate the following work product. This is what we need to keep our eye on, because this is what they said. This is our work product. A written list of specific changes to current county policies and procedures and/or suggestions for altogether new or different policies and procedures for public records requests. That was number one. And a line item estimate of the expected cost savings to the county. Copies of the committee report will be given to the county attorney, the county administrator, the public records coordinator, and all county commissioners. After county personnel have reviewed the committee's report, a presentation to the commission will be scheduled. So they'll give us feedback, and
we need to get everybody, do you have a copy of that?
Well,
You?
it's, no,
It's on
it's
the
our,
agenda.
it's our,
I read it
No,
on the
no, it's
agenda.
our, it's basically our charge.
Yeah.
You know,
But
where it goes and,
yeah, but it's written a little bit different this time.
this was from the agenda item last night.
Last night.
This was paraphrased. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's a synopsis of it.
But
You can get it from the agenda. We can.
Yeah, but she
told
I
me-
can put the agenda up on Google Docs.
No,
if
I'm
you want.
going over there later for another meeting.
Now, that is, though, in the attachments. It's not on the agenda itself. Do you get the full agenda?
Yeah.
They have the outline of the agenda. It's not in the outline. It's in the full agenda.
agenda.
Yes. And I believe it was...
Okay, now here's what I'm thinking. I appreciate you reading that, because here's the thing. We've got this, this procedure and policy that Heather has already done, and they've already spent money on it.
I don't think they have a procedure. I think they have a policy.
Okay, they have no,
They have no procedure manual.
there's no procedure manual at all.
I don't believe so. I think it's all been, that's been part of the problem, as I've been saying from day one. We need to have a procedure manual that you could just hand to Jessica or hand to anybody and say, this is how you process a public records request.
But it says it in the policy, how...
No, it doesn't say how to redact. It doesn't say anything. It just says, it's a policy. This is what we're going to try to, policies and procedures are, in my mind, yeah.
Well, here's
What you're
what my
saying.
point I'm getting back to. Here we're going to spend $6,000 on something that would work and streamline the ability to get what people are looking for, versus a policy and procedure manual. You know, I don't know which one's going to cost the most, which is going to take the
I don't
most
want new
time.
rules. I won't, because I don't want to give them more things to do, I guess.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is this. There's already a policy in place. I'd rather see the $6,000 spent in the IT if it does what it's supposed to do.
And it recovers.
And it recovers it and streamline it, you know, through the technology.
And that was Heather's suggestion. I think we should heed that. I think
That's
we should
what I-
follow that very clearly. Right.
Exactly what I ran on.
I agree. Don't miss, yeah.
and
Because if the answer becomes that simple, then we may be through sooner than we think.
or we may not need the procedure manual. I mean, there has to be a rule of procedures for whoever's in that position. I mean, it's not
True.
like giving them more to do, Bob. It's
Well, yeah.
the reason the $100 and how much $1,000 was spent was because somebody wasn't clued in on these are the time constraints and this and that and the other.
But that, yeah, I guess I'm going to say that explains pretty much how to do it. Now, you said it don't explain what you redact, but that's not for us to put in a
No,
manual. That's for the attorney.
It doesn't talk about how to redact. I mean, I guess in my world, you know, there's just like you look at any of the procedural manuals in the fire department. I mean, this is the step by step. It's not. It's something we should be able to hand a document to an individual, and they should be able to process a public records request. Our policy, you can't do that. You read the policy and you go, now what? There needs to be, well, this is how we first, as Fire Technology is contacted. They provide this type of file. This type of file is done by this person, and this is that procedure, because it's been hodgepodge now. There should be a procedure that says an estimate is given if there's going to be extensive use. I mean, it needs to be something that you could give to any new employee in that position, and they should be able to not 100% be 100% efficient, but at least they should be able to go through the mechanical aspects of providing public records based on the procedures manual, not a policy. The policies and procedures are two separate things, in my mind anyway.
I would not be a person that would be willing to create that without at least Jessica saying this is how it should go. I might would consider it at that point, but I'm not going to go.
We're not going to be writing procedures.
Well, who is?
We could suggest, one of the suggestions.
Yeah.
Could
You
be
can bring in
for
this.
flow or
that's
for
what this says.
saving money
I mean,
down the line.
Let me read this again, okay? A written list of specific changes to the current county policies. And it says and procedures, but there really are no procedures.
But didn't she just write them a couple of months ago?
No, the policy.
What we have is
Wrote the
sufficient.
policy.
The policy.
Policy.
Okay.
And I need to know from the attorney if we need a procedure. I'm just not crazy about.
The procedure just kind of,
I know, but
And they're
it
kind of
says
rolling them into one saying policies and procedures. I don't,
It's
to my
kind of-
knowledge, there is no procedures manual. And that was what was frustrating for me because the public records were being processed differently almost every time I came in. There was a different process that was taking place. It was, well, sometimes you get an estimate, sometimes you wouldn't. You know, there was making it up as you go. Do you pay for it ahead of time? Do you not pay for it? Do you?
It says it all right here.
The paying for it up front does, yes.
And it says how to get it and how many days you get to give it to a person and what they have to do if they don't get it to you. This needs to be implemented. It's not been implemented in a lot of ways, if that's your complaint.
No, my complaint is there's no procedures manual.
there's no.
And I don't want a procedure.
File or policy.
I'm not sure I want a procedures manual.
Well, this tells us we need policies and procedures.
That doesn't
So-
tell me I have to do that.
No, and there are none.
Now, I'll disagree with you there. I'm not, I can right now send that back to them and it's going to be just fine. That's why, if you want to know the truth, that's why I don't want a policy. I don't want more written language because then it's going to be used against the county as far as you have to do this based on this, this, and this.
So
That says enough.
Then I guess, Bob, I don't understand how the issues that have been problems in the past are going to get rectified if there's not.
I think
I don't-
we need to, I think before any decision is made, we need to find out the technology end of it, because it may be that Barracuda is not the answer.
Maybe.
You
Very much
know,
so.
we don't know what the answer is,
Right.
or we would, if we did, we would be sitting here right now.
And maybe this is taking this is administrative policy. You know, if we take this and make it more step by step, I guess what I have a problem with is not what's in here. What I have a problem with is that this is not a kind of step-by-step procedure as to how you go about doing this. I would want something, I think it's prudent. It's just like in my business, to run this particular machine or run this particular job, there is a set of procedures that you go through step by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. And if this guy gets sick and doesn't come in, I can give that procedure to whoever and say, here you go. He can go over there, and he might not be able to do it as fast as the last guy did it, but he can muddle his way through it and get done. With this, you'd have to read all of this and then try to interpret it and go, okay, and then I've got to do, whereas a procedures manual to me is just taking this and making it step by step by step. That's very clear that if Jessa were to be sick one day, or if she were to leave us suddenly, you could give it to somebody else, and they could look at that and go, this is our procedure for processing a public records request. Just very, I guess, logically, I think in terms of step 1, step 2, step 3.
Can we pull a procedure out of that policy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of it's in here. A lot of the verbiage is very close.
Well, if it's in there, and all it needs to do is be separated, here's the policy, here's the procedure, that's not a hard thing to do. You haven't changed the verbiage.
Right.
All the verbiage is still the same.
Right.
It's just one is the policy and one is the procedure.
Right. And for instance, a procedure manual to me would have in it the estimation sheet. You know, there's an estimation sheet that was, this doesn't say anything about how you log it in the Excel file. Another thing in the procedure would be, step 1 of the procedure is you log it in the Excel file. You input this data so we track it.
I'm sorry, but I've never seen the Excel file.
I sent it to you.
Okay.
I'm not going to create something that can be used against the county.
Wait a minute, though. How is procedure, how do you figure if a policy and procedure are both together in one document,
Like
and
that.
like that, and you have the policy on one hand and the procedure on the other, how is that going to go against the county?
And they're doing it now anyway.
If there's that's working for 99.9% of the people
Correct. And it's policy and procedure
together.
But it's missing so much. It doesn't talk about the fee calculation sheet. It doesn't talk about logging the Excel database. It doesn't.
I'll
There's
give
so
you a
many
perfect-
things missing from
I'll
this.
give you a perfect real-world example, and it's in my stuff if I could find yours.
Thank you.
Exactly what you mentioned. I don't know where you pulled it out of, but I had a request. I waited, a few days, whatever, a week, because I'm slow on the uptake. I said, "What's up with this one? So-and-so is sick." Okay. There's nobody that could have taken
a manual.
it up. And it was long enough
There's a lot lacking.
to be of concern. So I just emailed Heather and just my sarcastic self, what's this all about? It's like
Is that how you
they
said
could
it?
care less. It's their rules about returning, turning around requests. I didn't make up those rules, believe me.
And I guess we should not, in my opinion, we should not have had Virginia come back and tell us how she did her public records processing. It should have been laid out in a manual that said, this is how public records
And that
are
would have
processed
given
in
us
Oklahoma
a
County.
really stronger
And
base.
a bunch
to
of it's
work
in
on.
here, Bob. I do not disagree that there's a bunch in here,
Don't
but
think it's that big of a...
there's many other things that go into this. For instance, the means by which these public records come in. Is it coming in via the website, through the Response-O-Matic? The fee calculation sheet should be in there. It should be updated, and if that changes, it needs to be updated. The Excel file, how the data gets input in the Excel file, how often that Excel file gets backed up. I can see all kinds of things that need to be done methodically and logically to document what we're doing. It's being done now for the most part, but it isn't documented, and it's not being done consistently because there is no procedures manual. It's being,
I will say one thing. I will say this. If there is no documentation, that can bite the county's butt.
It should be documented. But I think it is.
It's not.
When it,
Well, if it is,
Well, if it is, show me a book.
I want to see it.
that's fair.
Show me a book. Yeah, that's fine. If it's there,
And that's all.
maybe she wrote something up and it's sitting in a file.
And
I just know we
by
need that.
documents, for me at least, explain what's not being documented. Again.
Well, things like, first of all, the fee calculation sheet should be somewhere. There should be a
For
fee.
each.
Yeah, and part of the procedure should be a fee calculation sheet. As the policy says, there will be a estimate given if there is extensive use. Right? Is that correct?
I believe
That's
that
what
it says
says.
it in here, yeah.
Okay, so
I'll look it up right now.
So
you keep
so
going.
that
It says it. I'm confident.
part of the procedures for the policy says you will give an estimate. That is how you give an estimate, a written estimate.
My point is, why are we going to rewrite it? It already says it's not been implemented correctly. Because it already says you got to do that. We're going to write it on a different piece of paper?
No. That should be part. That document itself should be part of a procedures manual. And if that changes, if they decide something else should change, if they decide, well, we're going to change it to 30 cents, then you add a revised one. Then the manual gets changed to add, well, now our fees went up to 20 cents or 30 cents or whatever. The Excel database logging, this says you need to log this. It doesn't say how you do it. It just says it needs to be logged. Okay.
Well, I know that there's a big log.
And it doesn't. Yeah, I provided it, and it's on the Google Docs. I believe it's on Google Docs, but I know I sent it to everybody.
You did the public request on it, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And so, and there's many other aspects that go along with this. For instance, we had problems with, and Heather said you wouldn't think we'd have to put this in a procedures manual, but what was happening was they were taking white out the tape and whiting out documents and then handing that over. So all you had to do was go, 329-463-2157. There needs a procedure. When you redact documents, you white out, Don't give that original whited out. Make a copy of it. Make sure that it's not legible. You know, those kinds of things I think are.
And in this
important.
procedure, is there going to be consequences
Because
for not doing
there may be-
those things?
I don't think there should be consequences. I mean, if somebody doesn't follow a procedure, I'm sure there, you know,
At some point.
there could be. But I mean, you would think that that kind of thing wouldn't have to be put, but it does, because you hire some kid right out of school or something. They don't know how to redact. They don't know. Well, redact, you know, this is how you do it. And, you know, you use whiteout or use this or use that. Put the original file back in. And again, we may be changing the policy so that we want to be sure that our procedures, if we modify any of that policy, spells that out clearly. I just want something that, because you got to realize we're dealing with somebody that Jessica's very, very capable, but you don't know that the next person charged with this might just be right fresh out of high school.
But this getting public records is not rocket science. And if you put 12 rules down and they skip one, and then everybody's in here going, "You can't believe you didn't do this. Here's the rule right here."
I know it. I know.
That's the point of.
But I would disagree respectfully, Bob.
I know, I
This is
understand.
complicated. It's not that easy. It took me a long time to get my hands around it. I mean, once you understand, it's not that big a deal. But for somebody first stepping into it that hasn't dealt with it, and to realize all the caveats, I just think a procedures manual. And it's not long. It's not hard to do. It's just taking what's in there.
Why don't you put one
Step by
together?
step. Well, I think we should all do that. I know that.
Well, I got mine. That's my point.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna stick with this right here, and it works. This works.
No, it doesn't.
No, it hasn't been working. That's why we're here.
It for certain people it doesn't work, but it works for 99% of people. That's just the truth.
Well, no.
Everybody has said it, except for they don't like reading those emails because it takes so long. It takes that time.
That's a big
If we go fix that, then you know we've accomplished quite a bit.
Well,
If the Barracuda technology
if it
takes
don't
care of
do
that,
that's a big help.
then that is a major piece of this pie taken out of it. So to me, there will be smaller, less,
Yes.
you know.
We're down
maybe
from. We probably agree on 80%. Basically, I don't know what percent of this is emails, but that's where we probably have a disagreement. And I want to say at this point, this is why we need Rachel, because this would give us
Need a what?
Rachel.
Yeah. That
This
fifth
would
vote.
give us.
A fifth vote,
One-
regardless of what
Somebody,
it is.
yes, break.
Doesn't make any difference who it is. We can abide by
So-
it. But I just,
Did we even agree on that? We agree on a lot.
I just want you to all know, though, that I appreciate the optimism you have for being able to cull down those emails. And I'm not, you know, a long time ago when I was doing that stuff, there's a lot of new technology out there. But just from what I know about the stuff, it's going to be very hard to get a piece of software and or hardware that will accomplish what Heather wants to accomplish without missing stuff. Because people
Then we're gonna
pull-
have to read it all,
well,
and you're gonna have to wait for it.
that's I'm just making
And you're gonna
a
pay for it.
statement. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope they'll give us this, and they'll say yes, 100% certainty. This is what you're going to get, and if there is any anomalies, it's going to spit those out too, and get rid of all the previous ones in the chain. I'm hoping we are going to find that.
Okay, who else uses Barracuda in this area that we could talk
I
to?
don't think anybody's. And there's several of them. I mean, there's different email.
We can use it, but we can have a 30-day trial.
Wait a minute, Steve, just, you said there's other stuff?
Oh yeah, there, every day there's new developers coming up with software to do things.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not, you have to
But it
search.
needs to be specific to our problem.
Do you know
No,
the
this is
problem that we're having? I'm
Yeah.
still unclear.
Okay, here, let me explain the problem. The problem is, look at this.
That's the perfect example. That's why I
This is
made
the
it
perfect
simple.
example.
Do we
okay?
need to get?
We have 3 pages of
read
this.
it.
We start with the original, Rachel's, and then my response. Well, first we have the spam. So we start with the spam.
Well, actually, it's funny you should say that because I thought about that when I was looking at it. And
Yeah.
I thought there's a lot of spam in here.
Yeah. So here's the spam.
That's just something that came off, that
Yeah.
came to the,
Then we get.
But they got to read it.
And then we get something to Wakulla. So if you look at, and so if you do a search and you find this chain, and depending on what you're looking for in this search, you get this entire chain. But now this chain has branches going all over the place, okay? You can look at all of the branches of this, and all of the branches of this email are in a email somewhere, the original one, the original spam is a public record, then the response to the spam is a public record.
Is it raining?
Yeah, it is a little bit. Gets much more.
You're stuck in your truck. Is that
Now,
what-
I'll tell you what, before you go, let me hand this out. Can we break right here for a second? Let me hand this out before you go.
Yeah.
I just want to hand this out quickly. Just to make a point that I happened to run across of public records, and notice in the subject line, at least this particular law firm actually puts confidential : public records exempt. So the suggestion to identify certain records, there he is. You want to let the record reflect that Dr. Kessler is, no, never mind. But the point is that somebody feels, I believe the McConaughey.com law firm feels as if identifying confidential public records exempt is a good idea. So I guess I just want to make the point that I think it's important that each employee, and I'm going to continue to hammer this, I mean, and I'll be voted down, that's fine if I'm voted down. But again, one more time, I'm a big believer in personal accountability. If this attorney is cognizant enough to go put in his reference line, confidential public records exempt, I think our county employees should be doing such if they ever send anything that is potentially exempt. Whether it is, whether it isn't, at least it gets flagged when it does the search through Barracuda, whoever. That'll be one of the very first search criteria is going to be, is there any email in here that has this? That gets special attention because somebody that's most intimate with that email feels as if there may or may not be, or there's a possibility of exempt material. It's just another level of safeguard that I think can help.
But you said county employees, and these
Yes.
are obviously attorneys.
Yes. Well, the county employees should do it anytime they receive one or they send one. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has to do it.
That's so important, or that's such a hard thing to do.
I don't care if people do it, but I'm not going to put it in a policy that they got to do it, and then they can be held responsible if they didn't do it. And I'm just one vote, that, again.
Okay.
But
Well-
if you want to suggest that, I
Right.
have no problem with that.
Right.
The thing is, Heather very plainly said that's what's great on paper, but it don't work in real life.
Right.
And she's going to have to go through. At this point, Jessica's going to have to go through
Well,
it.
that's
and she's
fine.
gonna
That's
get,
fine.
So you can put
So-
whatever you want. I don't
Right.
care if you make the
Okay.
paper green, if it's
Good.
personal stuff. But
Good.
they still going to read it.
Wait a
Well,
minute,
I'm
what
not-
you're saying is, if an employee is supposed to come here at 9 o'clock and work until 5 o'clock,
Right.
and they don't do it, that's
Well, I'm saying I'm
too
not
bad.
going to put.
Wander in
I'm
and
not
out
going
of
to
the
put more. Look, I've been going to county commissioners meetings for 5 years probably, and every time I get a chance to speak on this subject, I do it. And it's about I want less government, I want less rules, I want less regulations. So I'm not going to come in
If
here
you want
and
less
make
government,
more rules and more regulations.
You
I'm not
want
going to
more
do it.
rules for your government employees, because
I don't.
again, we get another.
I don't.
we get
No,
another
I
All right,
don't.
but ultimately, let's try to keep in mind, this is not going to be our decision. We're going to present this to the board. The board's going to decide, and they'll probably pick and choose. They may decide to have a workshop and hash out this and pick and choose from us. We need to provide the ideas to them, and I think we need to respect each other's
Then-
ideas. Please, let me finish. I think we should respect what each of us would like to propose to the board, and ultimately, it's the board's decision. Yes, we're going to make recommendations, but I would like to at least be given the opportunity that if you have something that you would like to present, that I would yield to you and you would yield to me so that we can provide a product to the board and let the board do their job and decide what it is, and the county administrator, because our charge says it's going to the county administrator, it's going to the custodian of the records, it's going to the Board of County Commissioners, the county attorney, and then ultimately what we present, they're just not going to pass as policy. I mean, ultimately, they're going to look at it like they should do and say, well, we like this or we don't like that, and they're the ultimate authority. So
I don't have a problem if you
Great.
bring that forward. I don't care. That's fine. I got mine already. I've already done my homework. I got mine.
good. And I will try to yield to others. I mean, I want to have all ideas out there. I don't think there are any bad
We
ideas.
presented 40 ideas. Say, here, guys. Here's 40
Is that really
ideas.
what we should do? Or
I think.
make them sit down and read through everything?
Well, here's the thing. You've decided on what you like.
I want to make a few changes, like I want it to be implemented, but yeah, basically this is fine with me.
And he's got 20 ideas that are nothing like yours.
That's right.
And he's got a couple of ideas that are like yours and his. And I'm out in left field with the whole, you know, with technology and all those things. We honestly have to pull them all together and give them all to them. We don't even know what Rachel's idea is.
And that's why I keep
But
saying.
give them all to them and then say, here's what came out of this meeting.
Absolutely. I have no problem with that. I'm just stating where I'm at with mine. I'm finished with mine. I do want to make a few changes, but I agree with you 100%.
Because that way we've done our job. And it might
go ahead
be
and turn them
that
off.
you two have a lot of the
Okay.
same
We
ideas.
do. We agree on 80%.
Yeah, I gotta go.
I bet we
But
do.
basically what
it's
you're
really
saying,
starting to rain a lot more.
Okay.
I gotta go.
It is.
All right, you.
but what you're saying is, yes, let's develop, give them a list of suggestions no matter where they come from and let them just pick and choose.
Are they gonna?
They're gonna do it anyway.
I'm not sure how happy they're going to be with us if they have to read.
Well, here's the
5 different
thing. It
documents.
didn't say that at the end of the thing there was a happiness clause.
No. I said, if a commissioner sits down with 5 different policies and says, I thought y'all were supposed to get this down to 1.
No.
Wait, can I speak?
You go one piece of, one long document.
What I would
I'm
suggest
sorry.
is we just maybe think about providing a document that has the things that we all agree upon, and then have a list of things that we couldn't maybe come to consensus on, and let them do it. This is what we suggest, but here are some other things we discussed that we would like for you to consider, and let them decide, because, I mean, I agree we should focus it, and we should provide them what they want and what they've asked us for, but that doesn't mean we can't provide them additional information that says this was also discussed, but we could not come to consensus on it.
Steve, before you go,
Yes.
we're set on a meeting for the 5th. Is that fair?
March 5th.
And can we go
review that
to
before I
Miss
go.
Debbie and try to get somebody here from that meeting? Is that?
Mr. Cost.
I'd like to get Cost,
Costa
Richie,
and-
Bruce, whoever can come from
Okay,
Inspired
let's
Technology,
get all
IT
the
people.
tech people here.
Is that?
Do we have a
with
contact?
her.
Do we have a contact way for cost?
Yeah, it's on that email chain, and I don't think he can make it. He's a youth pastor, and he works during the day, and I sense he's not willing to come to, he does this stuff in the
where
evening.
do we
He's got
do
a
that?
full-time job up in Tallahassee, so I
So
don't
then
think he's gonna
that
come.
means no round.
Well, I think the aspect he was working on was the portal between the My Wakulla website and processing these records offline,
So,
and getting that information is what we had talked
Is
about. That's not
Inspired
going to fly.
Technology his business?
No.
He owns it? He
No,
takes-
no, no,
No,
no.
that's-
James Cost is the website.
Okay.
There are two separate things we're talking about here. The software and/or hardware required to cull down the emails is a separate technical issue than what we were doing, that Rachel had also concurred that what we should do is allow users to access emails themselves through the website. Those were two separate technical issues and two separate concepts. So the one you're talking about, I think we should pursue. The one with costs, my understanding at this point, based on what we talked about last time, probably isn't going to fly, and what Heather said, but I'd like Rachel to come back because we're going to revisit that one more time.
We have to do it.
And ultimately, I'd like that to be presented to the board. Again, the fact that, in my opinion, there are, anyway, from some date certain forward, we should be able to let anybody search emails. But that.
So that's not going to happen, though.
But you don't know that.
I do.
No, you
All
don't.
right.
No, you don't. You're not a commissioner, and there's 5 commissioners, and they're going to be presented this, and
I
you're
know
right.
that Heather's not going to allow it. She said she's not going
Right.
to
That's
allow
okay.
that.
can I get some
That doesn't-
clarification?
Sure.
I don't ever speak in terms of absolutes like that until after a vote.
Clarification. I'm gonna do partial minutes
Okay.
to get them to Rachel. Next meeting to be March the 5th, Monday, 2 o'clock. Everyone bring a proposal or proposals and publish partial minutes of today's meeting to bring the chair current with what's going on.
Very good.
Fair enough?
And to try to have Inspired Technology.
I'll try to get somebody.
If y'all want to put
I'll
those
talk to
together,
Debbie.
then I certainly don't mind. But after you hear what they have to say, that may change.
Right.
Well, I mean, after they hear what we got to say, they may.
All right.
They may change. I agree.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, we
I
are.
make the motion to adjourn.
You second?
I second it.
Call for a vote?
Well, that way you can
All right.
be done and
Done and out of
you
here.
don't have to worry about it.
No, that's a good one. That's fine.
Mine has Band-Aid.
What does?
I twisted them around. My cover keeps coming off. This was a poor design. I'm disappointed in our
Yeah, me
city.
too. I'm with my phone.
But
Thank you all.